Let's start this meditation by looking for a situation that triggered you, a situation that was stressful for you. And in particular, we're looking at politics. So, in some ways, shouldn't be too hard to find a situation that got you stressed. But be sure to take a minute here and find a specific moment if you can. The thought we're going to be questioning is they shouldn't be so divisive. And so think about someone, either a politician, a political party, a friend or group of friends, someone who said something. Find a place where you were judging or experiencing a kind of divisive experience. These people were saying something strong or doing something to divide. So take a minute and see what you can find. Look for a real situation. For example, I'm thinking of a situation where I was watching TV and a political ad came on and they were just talking about how bad the other candidate is. And it was, it felt disgusting the way they were talking. So what's your situation where you were experiencing some kind of divisiveness related to politics? And if you need more time, just pause the recording and see if you can find one. And then we'll begin questioning this stressful thought. And the thought we're going to question is, they shouldn't be so divisive. So look at your situation. Is it true? They shouldn't be so divisive in that situation. And you're just looking for a yes or a no answer. It may take a minute to get to that, but look for a yes or a no. Look at your experience. What do you see? Is it true they shouldn't be so divisive? And be honest with yourself. With my situation, I'm getting a yes. They shouldn't be so divisive. That's the way I see it. So I'm going to be honest there. Next question. Can you absolutely know it's true? They shouldn't be so divisive. Are you sure? Again, it's a yes or a no. And again, stay in touch with your experience, but stretch a little and see, is there anything that you were missing before? They shouldn't be so divisive. Can you absolutely know it's true? Strangely enough, I'm getting a no for this one. So whatever your answer is, let's go to the next question of the work, which is, how do you react? What happens when you think this or feel this or believe this in your situation, that they shouldn't be so divisive? And here they are doing just the opposite. How do you react? What happens? In my situation, as I mentioned, there's a feeling of disgust. Ugh, can't believe they're doing that. Turns my stomach. I want to turn away from the TV. And I see a lifelong turning away from politics for this very reason. How do you react when you think they shouldn't be so divisive in your situation? Whoever you were talking to or whoever you were listening to, what happens to you? I feel powerless. There's not much I can do about it. My only defense is to avoid. Feels I feel kind of weak in a way. I also feel righteous because I know that they shouldn't be so divisive. Life would be so much better if they were not. So I'm actually kind of looking down on them at the same time. How about you? In your situation, how are you seeing the other party, the other person, when you think they shouldn't be so divisive? And what emotions come up? Is it anger? Is it disgust? Is it fear? Yeah, I see fear in myself. Like, this is just spiraling out of control. It's only going to get worse and worse. How far will it go? I almost see anarchy instead of government. I think like it's a dog eat dog world or something. There's a part of me that wants to be in a much more sane or civilized approach. And yet here I am being exposed to and almost a victim of a system that seems to be just going down the tubes. So I feel hopeless on some level. But I'm really in that thought, they shouldn't be so divisive. It's a very powerless feeling in that moment. And I see images from the past of different people that have talked politics with me or different ad campaigns over the years, different politicians, their lies, their promises, and the way they talk dirt about the other side. And the whole thing becomes super taboo for me. Just want to make it go away. Part of me that just feels anxious and unsettled, unable to be myself when they continue to be divisive. So how about you? What happens to you when you think they shouldn't be so divisive in your situation? So what we're seeing here is the reaction to a thought. The thought is they shouldn't be so divisive, and my reactions wore out. I can't help it. That's what makes it a reaction. So who would you be in the same situation, talking to the same person or listening to the same person or thinking of the same people, without the thought that they shouldn't be so divisive? Who would you be? Really look at them. What do you see? Without the thought, I'm looking at this TV ad and I'm just thinking, this is a strategic plan and It's been tested over years, decades, and they're doing what they think works best. And it probably does work best based on everything they've tested. I'm also aware there could be other ways of doing this that might be even more effective, but I see them doing what they think is best, and it softens it for me. These are people wanting to get elected. I get it. So what do? Oh, run an ad about how bad the other candidate is. So without the thought they shouldn't be so divisive, I see human beings doing what human beings do, trying to get something they want and using the means they think will work best. It comes down a few notches for me when I see it that way. I notice I just took a little deeper breath, like some weight just came off my chest a little bit. I can't say I'm 100% peaceful with it, but it's easier without that thought. So how about you? Who would you be in your situation without the thought that they shouldn't be so divisive? What do you see when you look at them? And what do you see when you look at yourself without that thought? When I'm not focused on this idea that they shouldn't be so divisive, I see my freedom. I see this is just not my arena. And I see, I'm almost grateful how few political ads I actually see. It's like, I think I've seen 2. So it puts it in perspective suddenly for me. And what I mean is I see my freedom to be wherever I want to be, interested in whatever I want to be interested in. And politics just happens to not be it for me. So who would you be without the thought they shouldn't be so divisive? It's almost like I'm letting them just be divisive. Okay, go to it. Have fun. This is your game. It's a weird one. Not my game, but hey, knock yourself out. It's like there's a little smile on my face as I'm saying it. To each his own. And it feels gentle. So these 2 questions, how do you react? What happens when you believe the thought? And who would you be without the thought? Show the effect of this thought on you in your situation. Because with the thought, at least for me, the experience was stress. And without the thought, the experience is more easiness and more self-awareness. So that thought for me is like a poison. It's like a little drop of poison. And that thought, because it's poisonous to me, because of that effect on me, it's something to be aware of. I see the effect now. So let's try turning the thought around. They shouldn't be so divisive. The turnaround would be, I shouldn't be so divisive. So how could I be doing the very same thing that I think they're doing in that situation? You know the saying, you spot it, you got it? Well, where is it? Am I being divisive somehow? Is it possible? Are you being divisive in your situation? Is it possible? What I find is I'm being divisive because I'm judging these maybe just political people in general, but certainly candidates and their campaign people. I'm judging them and separating myself from them. I'm the good kind of person. They're the bad kind of person. They're like low. I'm high. That's divisive. I hate to admit it, but it's divisive. And I'm doing it. So it's not to make me look bad or try to, feel guilty or something like that or ashamed. It's more, oh, right. I'm doing the very same thing. So where's the difference? They just happen to be doing it in the political arena. I'm doing it on some kind of moral arena. It's the same thing. And that levels the playing field. Suddenly, we're not so different. And for me, that softens my heart a lot because I see the similarity between us. We're both being divisive. So how about you? Where are you possibly being divisive? And you may not be, but maybe you are. So take a look, even just a little. Just the way I turn away from politics, that's divisive. Like, don't speak to me about that. Speak to the hand. You know how divisiveness looks like? Those people are evil. We're good. We're the victims. They're the perpetrators. Like that whole thing. Well, I kind of do that with politics in general. Like all these political people, they're just making life terrible. And like, don't talk to me about it. Like, I literally talk to the hand. So I'm divisive. I've made a division between the politically active and the non-political. I even go so far sometimes to judge them as superficial. Now that's really pushing it. But look at me. So this is not so different from what political parties do to each other. I just love seeing how this brings it down to a level of evenness, equality here. Human beings. So there may be more, and keep looking. How are you also divisive in some of the same ways that they are? My experience is if it gets me, something bothers me, like on an emotional level, there's a good chance I'm doing something similar. So let's look at another turnaround. Instead of they shouldn't be so divisive, another turnaround would be they should be so divisive. Now, this sounds crazy, but let's take a look. How could them being divisive be a good thing? How could it be understandable? What can you find? How's it okay? It's hard to look for these because if you're like me, I've labeled this divisiveness as a bad thing. And I have my proof. But where the turnaround is asking us to play devil's advocate to ourselves and say, could it be that divisiveness has its place somehow or is good in some way? Could it serve in some way? Is it okay in some way? I'm thinking of like debating. I never liked debate. I was not drawn to it in high school, but it's a form of kind of getting at truth in a way. And yeah, it's a little dirty and it's adversarial, but it is probably a valid way of gaining knowledge in a way. Test the theories under pressure. It's not my way. I'm just not drawn to that, but it is a way. And so divisiveness may have its role. It may have its role. I'm right, you're wrong. Like, and then I have to prove why I'm right. It sounds unenlightened, right? I'm I'm still turned off by it as I think about it. But at the same time, for people who thrive on that kind of adversarial conversation, like that's normal for them. I know families that just love that kind of debate, and they like to get in each other's face and like, you know, and that's like fun actually for them. I think there are a lot of people like that. The very people that I've divisively rejected with my point of view. So they should be so divisive because maybe it's just their nature. Maybe it's their culture, their family culture. Maybe it's just their personality. Um, these things aren't wrong. There aren't good personalities and bad personalities in a way. There might be, I don't know, imbalance. There might be stress. There might be issues, but that can happen in any personality. It's just that the divisive ones are all out in the open, whereas the quiet ones, quiet personalities, may have their issues internally that no one ever sees. So, yeah, as I keep thinking about this, maybe this divisiveness, maybe this conflict, if you will, this debate is not a bad thing. Like they talk about healthy debate, right? Now, granted, this TV ad is making it like, it's like taking it to another level. They're really pushing down the other person, but isn't that a part of debate somehow? Yeah, maybe they're taking it further than I ever would. So, I don't know, but it's possible that there's something good in being divisive. And that's what we're looking for. So for you, how could it be in your situation that this turnaround could be true? They should be so divisive. How's it understandable that they would be so divisive? I know when I want to win, I want to get something. Yeah, I may have some limits. I may hold myself back a bit, but I certainly want to do anything and everything I can to win. So it's understandable that someone would go for divisiveness as a way. In fact, isn't politics by nature divisive? Somebody has to win, someone has to lose. Is that a bad thing? Right? The alternative is a monarchy or some other form of government. And maybe this divisiveness with its problems also holds everyone accountable to some degree. So you see how I'm playing? And I don't know your situation, but this is the invitation to play with this. Like, challenge yourself. See if you can find the opposite of what you're thinking and believing to also have some merit. And then you're still welcome to hold your preference. This is not about erasing preferences. It's about gaining understanding for those who are different or for life that comes at us in a different way than what we would have wanted. They should be so divisive. Probably isn't just works. People just do what works, and it probably just works. And it's okay that they're so divisive as long as I don't make it my thing, as long as I don't get too involved with it and get too caught up with it or try to change it somehow. If I'm arguing with the way things are, then it's a very powerless position. I lose. So they should be so divisive because they are. And the sooner I can just see that and be okay with that, the sooner I can move on to what is important to me. And for me, it's not politics, but maybe for you it is. And if that is yours, then as long as you're not thinking they shouldn't be so divisive, you can understand why they are, and you can be engaging with them in a more powerful way, in a more empowered way.